Hi folks, welcome to the Lo-Fi Prototyping Week. So next week you're going to be working on your customer journey maps, but I wanted to give you a heads up. These Lo-Fi prototypes are actually going to be due on Tuesday, so we can show a variety of them and critique them actually in class, in our final live class. So I wanted to give people enough heads up so they can start these. Now, it's not a tremendous amount of effort, and the idea behind Lo-Fi is exactly that. You're not going to spend a lot of time on flashy graphics, but you are going to walk us through on how things actually work. So I want to talk about that. So what you're going to do for this assignment is you're going to develop a Lo-Fi prototype, and I'll show you a bunch of examples and a whole bunch of tools in order to do that. You'll create a 1-minute video of that particular prototype and then submit that or the link to Blackboard. And then on Tuesday or Wednesday morning, I'm going to go through them. I'm going to pick out a few, and we're going to probably look at about 10 of those, depending on the quality content, those types of things, in class for our final class, and then we're going to talk about the project in that final class. So that's the idea behind this. Now let me show you some examples of some Lo-Fi prototypes, because I've had already lots of questions on what means a Lo-Fi prototype. And it really means low fidelity, meaning the images aren't great, hand-drawn in a lot of cases. The use of wireframes, which I'll show you what those programs are in a second. So here's one example of a Lo-Fi prototype. So here's a prototype. It says, hey, here's a web page. Here's the concept title. Here's the tabs I'm going to use. And then in your video, you would just walk through and maybe show another picture of, okay, given my customer journey, this is where they're going to click on. And based on this, this is what they're going to see their experience. This particular Lo-Fi prototype had interactions with people online. So you're going to see on the right where Peter, Chris, Tony, and Joe all were able to chat with or assign different features for this particular business. Here's another one that they used a tool called Mockups, where it says, okay, here's an app. And in this app, these are your particular walkthrough. This is your storyboard, which I think is excellent. It doesn't have to be that great. You're just going to tell a story on how someone's going to use yours. Here's another one that was done with another piece of software that I'll show you. Again, I don't want you to spend a lot of time. If you want to hand draw things and stitch them together, that's fine. The easiest way to do that is stitch them together in a PowerPoint so that it's kind of seamless, but you can tell the story. Or you can use one of these tools if you like, that's fine as well. It's really up to you on how you want to do this. So this is more for a social networking type of idea that folks had. And again, here's another hand-drawn one just to give you an example of this particular business. So you would have several different screens that walk you through a simple story in order to do this. So what would your typical user do, and how would they interact with your particular online business or digital business? A final one, here's a shot of an app so you can kind of see what this person's doing. I think it's a clothing store, if I remember correctly, and what their process was and what it would look like to the particular user. I want to show you a quick video. You can Google these. There's thousands of different Lo-Fi videos online that you can see what people done. Some are good, some are not so good. So here's one video that you can kind of see what it is. So here they're going through, they're describing how they use it. It's just basic pictures on the iPhone. It looks like an iPhone 4S or something like that. So it gives you an idea of how that's done. So I wanted to give you that as well as a particular example of how people would navigate. So think of your persona, think about how they would navigate your site, and use that kind of accordingly. So here's some tools. There are, I think there's tens and tens and tens of tools out here. Here's 5 that I've used and I think are great. So there's one called Quick Mockup, there's one called Mockingbird, there's one called Kaku, I think is how you pronounce that. They're all wireframes, and wireframes is basically like what you saw. Let me show you what a wireframe would look like. So this is a wireframe where it would have the tabs, it would have what you looked at, it would have mock-ups of buttons, but nothing fancy in terms of graphics. None of these should be fancy. There's also apps. Prototyping with paper is one that is used extensively, and you actually take photographs of your mock-ups papers, and then you can add buttons. So if you click on this, it would go to another I would go to another photograph of a drawing that you drew up of your particular app or website. That's kind of a neat one if you have an Apple or Android phone. There's Balsamiq, which is another app you can use, or like I said, the wireframes. So hopefully this short video can get a sense of what I'm looking for. It's nothing extensive, but I look forward to talking about these videos. I look forward to seeing them, and please let me know if you have any questions on the discussion board. Thank you very much.